to tonight's stream of a GPT for GP Cleveland. I'm your host, Andrew Donnelly. With me always is
Matthew Robert Dow,
my co-host. And we are watching two guys we saw last week play, Dan Cardenas and Barry Cohen, facing off in our first feature match, Green Red Monsters versus Abzan Whip. Let's see, we start off with Dan Cardenas on Elf. What do you like here, Matt?
What do I like? I like turn 1 Elf, baby. That is just what I want to be doing.
Green Red Monsters has seen that resurgence.
Yeah, I mean, if he can go and cast the old turn 2 Goblin Rabblemaster, which he can't, but it's pretty much your ideal draw for this Green Red Monsters deck.
That is true. That is very true. We see leads in a Courser with what appears to be another Courser on top.
Indeed, Barry's starting off with the old Scryland. Probably going to play Cast Commune with the Gods, I'd imagine, right here.
Get a Commune in early, try to fill up the graveyard about as fast as he can.
Actually, he has a Satyr Wayfinder, and I don't know if he has another land after this. So, I don't know, he's debating. So he's going to go with the Wayfinder to try to find his third land here. He does manage to hit. Probably take, I don't know, okay, he has a Windswept Heath, so I'd probably take the Mana Confluence so he can get double black.
Sure.
Man, these Abzan Whip decks sure do, these Satyr Wayfinders hit a lot more than those Satyr Wayfinders did back in the day of Black-Green Dredge when we used to play that deck.
That is very true. The Satyr Wayfinder definitely a good card to fuel your delve and get things in there ready to be whipped back later on. Dan takes his draw for the turn, reveals an Ilea on top, goes to combat with the Courser.
Yeah, I don't know if Dan has looks like Dan does not have a third land, so kept the old 2-lander Elvish Mystic Courser and hasn't seen a land.
We look at his hand. I saw a Crater Claws glimpse by. I'm not sure what else is in there.
I think he's got a Xenagos, the Reveler.
Okay.
And a Crater's Claws. So yeah, he's just stuck on red mana. Or lands in general.
There's the Commune you mentioned before. Barry's going to drop that out. What's he looking for here?
I imagine he's just going to take Siege Rhino.
Sure.
I don't think Wingmate Rock is all that great in this matchup. I guess the Green Red Monsters deck can kind of clutter up the board, but Wingmate Rock is absolutely awful when the other person is playing Stormbreath Dragon.
Very true. There's also the potential for Arbor Colossus in this deck, correct?
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. I can see looking at Dan's deck list, he doesn't have any in the main deck.
Sure.
Yeah. I think Siege Rhino is just a better card there. There you go, Dan. Flipping a red spell with no red mana in sight.
The access to red mana is a little tough. You'd almost like to see a Sylvan Caryatid here.
Yeah. Sylvan Caryatid would be good, but Dan's just going to try to get his beats on with these Courser of Kruphix. I can't imagine that this is going to end very well for him. Barry has a 4th land in his hand and I think has a Siege Rhino. And once he starts casting Siege Rhino into Wingmate Rock and Dan's stuck on 3 lands, it's going to be pretty tough for Dan to come back.
So we see the land.
Here comes the first of the Siege Rhinos.
Many Siege Rhinos. Barry dropping a 13 after fetching for the forest. And I think Matt is right. We will see the Siege Rhino here. Take a while to shuffle the deck up there. Interesting sleeves Barry's got there.
Indeed. Going old school.
Definitely old
Wants
school.
To see that back. Just gonna
there
go
he
up
is.
To 15 here off the Siege Rhino.
Dan will drop to 17.
So hopefully Dan can find a land here. I mean, he is in desperate need of a Rhino land because Barry, I think, has another Siege Rhino in his hand and 2 Wingmate Rocks. So I don't even know if Dan draws a land here that he can
there we go.
even make this competitive, but we'll see. I imagine you just have to ship that
carry it away at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. He's looking. He's trying to figure out how am I going to hold this Siege Rhino off. I've got removal in my hand. I've got a Xenagos in hand, and I've got an Ilea. So turning on an Ilea seems pretty strong right now.
Well, right now he can. There we go.
There's a mountain.
Yeah. He could triple block the Siege Rhino.
Siege Rhino.
So desired, but he gets blown out by a removal spell. I can't. I just imagine he'll just take the damage. And then, but you're right. Active Nylea does roadblock Siege Rhino pretty well.
It's a good card.
So Barry drew a murderous cut.
Uh-oh.
So.
Well, that'll.
Another good one.
Coming in with the Satyr Wayfinder.
It's interesting. Very afraid of Dan triple blocking
The Siege Rhino?
Yeah, that seems weird to me. I would just attack with the Siege Rhino. I mean, if Dan triple blocks with the Siege Rhino, or triple blocks the Siege Rhino, you just murderous cut like a Courser.
I have to wonder here if Barry didn't just attack to proc the raid trigger from...
He did, but I
Sure.
still think the Siege Rhino is a free attack. I don't think Dan's going to triple block there because he just gets absolutely wrecked by... he just gets wrecked by a removal spell.
So Barry's playing it safe. He just wanted a soft attack in case there were any tricks. We don't want to run into Gather Courage as we've seen.
We don't want to run into Gather Courage. You're right.
Even with Murderous Cut in hand.
Barry playing around Gather Courage.
Doesn't want to get blown out by that. All right, so he passes back to Dan. Dan's going to draw, flip. What do we see?
So got a Genesis Hider there on top. Dan's going to go back up to 20. So, I mean, if Dan could just, start jamming giant threats, Nylea is indestructible.
Correct.
Good luck. Stormbreath Dragon is essentially can just block this board indefinitely. I think Dan's going to play the Nylea. That's what I would do.
Would you accelerate the game state here instead? Would you try for the Xenagos line plus Xenagos, tap my Elf, play my Nylea?
Yeah, I think that's actually not fine. I don't know. Your Xenagos is just going to die next turn.
True.
So, does that really do anything for you? I don't think so.
So he's going to play the whited out Xenagos there. I don't know if he's...
I don't know how much this does for you, right? I guess it's kind of like a fog. You gain a couple of life, but your Xenagos is just going to die to those rocks.
That is true. It does give you the somewhat, I guess, the added guard that he isn't swinging directly in your face.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I guess at this point, Dan just needs to play as many spells as he can per turn because he's so far behind.
I agree. We're going to see.
I imagine Barry will Murderous cut a Courser here. Or maybe he just wants to save. He doesn't have too many. He only has those 4 Murderous cuts in his main deck to handle Stormbreath Dragon, so he doesn't have too many outs to Stormbreath Dragon. So I can see why he's holding on to that Murderous cut. And I think if I'm him, I'm just going to keep jamming Wingmate Rocks until Dan dies.
The Wingmate Rock is definitely a strong card.
Wingmate Rock is really good, especially when your opponent was stuck on 3 lands, and
correct.
Now you have 12 power worth of flyers, and how many flying creatures / guys with reach does the Green Red Monsters play?
Not a lot. So he got rid
Hornet
of the
Queen,
Xenagos.
I guess,
Hornet Queen would be one of the ones. Dan's going to gain 2.
Yeah. If Dan draws Hornet Queen, we're in business, baby.
We've got some action if Hornet Queen comes out.
We need to draw lands and Hornet Queen, but we have Genesis Hydra, Crater's Claw. We can Genesis Hydra for 4, which could get us Pelucranos, Xenagos. I don't know if I really like that, but that might just be what Dan does.
I have to imagine if you're a Green-Red Monsters player, this format is definitely one where you're missing a Domri, because a Genesis Hydra into a Domri, using my Nylea to fight your Siege Rhino seems really strong.
I think the play here is can Dan double Crater's Claws something, which I know seems freaking miserable to spend 2 spells on half of a card, but he's got the ground locked down with that Nylea. If he can Crater's Claws, it looks like he has, so it's 6 mana, right? So double Crater's Claws,
correct.
4 each would be 6 mana. So he has the mana to do it.
Does he have double Crater's Claws? He does.
He does have double Craters. He has Genesis Hydra, Lightning Strike, and double Crater's Claws. So I think that's probably what he's going to do here. I don't know if it's correct.
Well, we'll see.
Can he just No, I guess he can't even try to race Barry because these rocks are going to gain so much life.
Well, he's going to.
Yeah, he's on the double Crater's Claws, the Wingmate Rock plan. Try to find a Stormbreath Dragon / Hornet Queen somewhere in here.
Yep. Pretty efficient removal by Dan. With what he has available.
It's just a shame that the rocks leave behind rocks.
Yes.
The rocks. And there's Barry. He drew the Hornet Queen, so, you know. But he only has 5 mana, where Dan is on 6 and has a 7th land on top.
So here come the rocks. And that buffer that the Coursers provided as far as health, really helping Dan out here, at least.
Yeah.
Know?
He's got,
they keep
3
you in the game.
turns. So he's on a 3-turn clock.
Let's take a look. Dan's got a mana confluence on top. Barry's kind of mulling over his plan here.
Yeah, I would just jam another Siege Rhino.
I think another Rhino does you good here.
Go to Rhino Town and then leave up Murderous Cut in case you need to Murderous Cut, like something. I know, Stormbreath Dragon. But I imagine if Dan had Stormbreath Dragon, he would have just played it last turn, because it blocks the rocks all day long.
Barry going up to 18, Dan dropping down to 13 after a Siege Rhino.
Yeah, so I think Dan really needs to see like Hornet Queen right here.
Sees a Nykthos.
Nykthos is actually not that bad.
Pretty powerful with your Genesis Hydra in hand.
Yeah, now we got a Genesis Hydra. Ooh, and we see a Stormbreath Dragon on top. Oh baby!
Boy. This might be the action Dan's looking for.
Yeah, so I think we got to make the mana, make 5, 6 mana, cast a Genesis Hydra for 1 million. Although, I think you ideally want to cast it for 8. How much does Hornet Queen cost? 7 or 8? We want it to be that much so we can get the Hornet Queen.
Sure.
Well,
Nykthos right now is going to provide him 2, 4, 5, 6 by itself.
Yeah.
And then he has access to 4 more. So he's access to a total of 10 mana?
Yeah. So he's able to cast it for 8. I would just cast it for the full load.
It looks like he's going to hold back.
Looks like he's going to do it for 5, so which is interesting. It's going to be miserable if he flips over a Hornet Queen.
It would not be very optimal. So we see double Stormbreath.
Courser, the Caryatid.
Mm-hmm.
And that Stormbreath Dan thinks is like super good right now, but it's really not even that good. That's why I like trying to hit Hornet Queen, because Hornet Queen is actually really good right
Sure.
there. Stormbreath Dragon is just going to die to Murderous Cut, and then we're going to get attacked by a bunch of rocks again.
Yep.
But, I mean, Dan still has the ground. If Dan can find, like, another Stormbreath Dragon, he's in this game. Hornet Queen is still ridiculous, but Hornet Queen is ridiculous against all these dirtily mid-range decks.
It's interesting to note Dan's ability to generate subtle power on the board. People forget about the Nylea, they forget about the pump, they forget about the trample.
Sure.
Especially when you have a Nykthos online that is now generating 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 mana by itself. Here comes the Stormbreath and the Nylea.
So Dan is getting aggressive.
He's on the plan of attack. I mean, which isn't a bad plan.
And he has a couple of mana open here for a Lightning Strike.
Yep.
But he's going to take 1, go to 17.
Murderous Cut targeting.
Murderous Cut is good. Stormbreath Dragon is going to die. Now the question is Barry going to block Nylea? I can't imagine so. I'd say just so. But do we just die to some like craziness next turn? We can hit back for 12. 14.
Barry drops down to 11 after the
He's
attack.
going to go to 11. I don't know. Dan's going to put him to 8, and then you're right. He might just be able to like
Overrun.
just get him.
Yeah.
The trample.
The potential for the damage from Nylea is strong. Now Barry's kind of holding it close to the chest. It looks like he drew another Murderous Cut.
He has another Murderous Cut, so
which isn't good.
It's fine. It kills the Genesis Hydra.
Well, I mean, for Dan, it's not good. For our plan of Overrun.
I don't think it's the end of the world for Dan. But yeah, it's gonna, provided Barry times it correctly.
Sure.
It's not gonna be that great.
He's gonna mull it over. Drops the land for turn. We see a Windswept Heath. It looks like he's got the Hornet Queen.
I don't really. I mean, I like playing Courser, trying to hit a land off the top of my deck here. What else are we going to do with our mana? Are we going to cast Hornet Queen? No. Do you want to pay the full boat for Murderous Cut? I don't think so. So I think that's kind of a misplay from Barry there.
Courser also provides you an additional blocker on the ground for Barry, so if it does get into that trample effect, he at least has a blocker.
Oh, Barry had, I don't know. Did Barry exile?
I believe he did.
Okay.
He may have set them off to the side, but yes.
Just making sure.
He's going to check here. Going with the rocks, he says.
Okay, he's going to go to 9.